Hey there. Ready to explore where music meets social justice?
I'm ready.
We're going deep into a world where incredibly talented musicians face some crazy challenges just because of who they are.
It's true. And today, those musicians are intersex and transgender artists.
We're using this super interesting article from TATANKA. It's a platform all about music with a mission.
Yeah, music with a purpose.
The article is called Intersex and Transgender Musical Artists, Intersectionality and Social Justice, Intersectionality and Identity.
Catchy.
So what's the big takeaway? What are we hoping to understand?
Well, the article looks at the specific hurdles these artists face, especially when their identities intersect with race, class, and sexual orientation.
Right, so it's not just about being a musician, it's about navigating a whole system that's not always so welcoming.
Exactly.
It's like trying to hit a high note while jumping hurdles.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. A key concept here is intersectionality. The idea that different parts of your identity, they can create overlapping, unique experiences of discrimination.
Okay, so you're not just dealing with the challenges of the music industry, you're also facing biases based on, like, your gender identity, race, or economic background.
Precisely. It's not just one hurdle, it's a whole obstacle course, as you say.
And it all adds up.
It does. Imagine, a Black transgender woman trying to break into country music.
Oh, yeah.
She's facing barriers related to race, gender identity, and genre expectations all at the same time.
That's intersectionality in action.
It is.
Wow, that really puts it into perspective, like layers upon layers of challenges.
The article uses 𝗧𝗔𝗧𝗔𝗓𝗓 as a great example of this.
Oh, yeah. She's a South African musician, right?
Yeah.
I've seen some of her videos.
That's her. She really embraces and celebrates her intersectional identity.
She has such a vibrant energy.
She does. She's a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
And she uses her platform to advocate for both racial and gender inclusivity.
Which is so important.
Yeah.
Because the world can still feel pretty exclusive.
You got it.
That makes you think, like, how often do we even consider all the layers of someone's identity when we hear their music?
It's true. There's a whole story there.
A whole world of experiences.
Right. And speaking of stories, the article also dives into the economic realities these artists face.
Yeah, that makes sense. If you're dealing with discrimination in everyday life, it's going to be that much harder to build a sustainable career in music.
Exactly.
Affording studio time, marketing, just, covering the cost of living while pursuing your passion.
All of that.
It all becomes even harder when you're facing economic hardship because of who you are.
Think about access to good equipment.
Touring opportunities.
Even just getting your music heard.
It's like that saying, it takes money to make money. But what if the system makes it harder for you to earn that money in the first place?
Right. It's a vicious cycle.
Seems like it.
But there are artists who are breaking the cycle. The article highlights these innovative platforms like Patreon.
Oh, yeah. I love Patreon. Fans can directly support the musicians they love.
Exactly.
It's like cutting out the middleman.
And building a direct connection.
With people who appreciate your art. Have you ever supported anyone on Patreon?
I have, actually.
It's a cool way to feel like you're part of an artist's journey.
And to see their work evolve.
Plus, you get access to, like, behind-the-scenes content.
For sure. It's a deeper connection.
That's really cool.
It is.
It's like a win-win.
Exactly.
The artist gets support.
And the fans get a more immersive experience.
So we've got intersectionality, economic barriers.
Yes.
What else does the article highlight?
Well, the article really emphasizes the importance of LGBTQ+ inclusivity in the music industry.
Of course.
For intersex and transgender artists, it's about feeling safe, respected.
Empowered.
Yes, empowered to express themselves authentically.
You can't create freely if you're constantly feeling like you have to hide a part of yourself.
Nope.
The industry should be a place where everyone feels welcome.
And celebrated.
Exactly.
Organizations like GLA are doing great work.
GLA, yeah.
They advocate for LGBTQ+ representation in media. They're pushing for greater visibility.
But there's still work to be done.
Oh, for sure.
So we're on the right track.
I think so.
But we haven't reached the finish line yet.
No.
Makes you wonder, how can we, as music fans, contribute to a more inclusive music industry?
That's the question, and the article brings all of this to life with a powerful story about two musicians.
All right, I'm ready. Tell me more.
It focuses on 𝗔𝗓𝗓,
Okay.
a Korean intersex and transgender musician,
All right.
and 𝗑𝗕𝗕𝗓, a non-binary Japanese musician.
Cool.
They both use music to explore their identities and to connect with others who share similar experiences.
I'm already hooked.
They met at an open mic night.
Oh, wow.
That chance encounter led to a strong friendship.
Music brings people together.
It really is a universal language.
Yeah.
And for Jin and Yuki, it became a way to find their voice.
To express themselves authentically.
Exactly.
And find community.
In a world that sometimes felt isolating.
So their music became a platform. Not just for themselves, but for others who felt unseen.
And unheard.
Exactly.
Especially intersex individuals.
Right. They're often underrepresented, even within the community.
It's about giving a voice to those who are often silenced or overlooked.
That's so important.
It is.
Creating space for everyone.
It's for everyone to feel seen and validated.
But I imagine they still faced their share of challenges.
They did.
Even with that growing support.
Unfortunately, yes. Some venues were hesitant to book them.
Oh, no. Why?
Maybe worried about alienating certain audiences.
Really?
And some critics focused more on their identities than on their music.
Oh, that's so frustrating. It's like, can we just appreciate the music for what it is?
Right. Regardless of who created it.
Exactly. It's like judging a painting solely on the artist's background instead of the strokes on the canvas.
That's a great analogy. The art should speak for itself.
It goes back to that need for inclusivity and understanding. We need to be open to experiencing art, from all walks of life, from all identities.
Absolutely. Without letting preconceived notions cloud our judgment.
I couldn't agree more. And I think that's one of the most powerful messages that comes through in Jin and Yuki's story.
What's that?
Perseverance.
Yes. Despite those challenges, they didn't give up.
They didn't give up on their music.
On their message.
They turned those obstacles into fuel.
Into fuel for their creative fire. That resilience is something we can all learn from.
For sure.
Remember that quote. We're not just singing for us, we're singing for everyone who feels invisible. Let's be loud enough for them all to hear.
Wow, that gives me chills. It's about solidarity. Using your platform.
To amplify the voices of those who haven't been heard.
Yeah, it ties into everything we've been talking about.
It does, right?
Intersectionality.
Yes.
Economic justice.
Yeah.
The fight for LGBTQ plus inclusivity.
Yeah.
It's all woven into their story.
It is.
Their music becomes like a microcosm of this larger struggle for equality.
Exactly.
And representation. Their story shows how music can be such a powerful tool for social change.
It really does. And I think that's a perfect segue into our next point.
Okay, what else does the article have in store for us?
It goes on to discuss the progress that's been made with LGBTQ plus inclusivity, in the music industry.
Okay.
But while also saying there are still significant gaps,
So we're moving in the right direction, but there's still a long way to go.
Exactly. And that's where these organizations like 𝗧��� come in. They advocate for LGBTQ plus representation in media.
Makes sense?
Working to change hearts and minds through storytelling and stuff.
Representation matters. When you see people like you on screen or on stage or, in the recording booth, it sends a message that, you belong, that your voice deserves to be heard.
It normalizes diversity,
Right.
Shows the world that LGBTQ plus people are just as talented and creative.
And deserving of success.
Yes, as anyone else.
Have you ever felt inspired by an artist, simply because they were unapologetically themselves?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, me too.
There's something powerful about seeing someone embrace their true identity.
And express it through their art.
Through their art, exactly.
It's like, wow, I could be myself too.
Yes.
And that's something to celebrate.
And that sense of empowerment is so important.
Especially for young people.
Especially for young people.
Who are trying to find their place in the world. So seeing someone like Jin or Yuki
succeed.
Succeed. That can be life-changing.
Absolutely.
The article mentioned that they weren't always met with open arms, even as their fan base grew.
Right.
Can you talk a bit more about the specific obstacles they encountered?
Well, some venues were hesitant to book them, perhaps worried about, alienating certain audiences or something. And even when they did get gigs, they faced critics who, focused more on their identities than on their music.
That's so frustrating. It's like, hey, can we just appreciate the music for what it is?
Yeah.
Regardless of who created it.
It's like judging a painting solely on the artist's background rather than, the brushstrokes on the canvas,
Exactly.
The art itself should speak for itself.
It goes back to that need for greater inclusivity.
For sure.
And understanding.
Yes.
We need to be open to experiencing art from all walks of life, from all identities, without letting preconceived notions cloud our judgment.
I agree.
And that's I think, one of the most powerful messages that comes through in Jin and Yuki's story.
Which is?
The importance of perseverance.
Yes, perseverance.
Despite these challenges, they didn't give up on their music.
Or their message.
They turned those obstacles into fuel for their creative fire.
Exactly.
I love that.
Remember the quote, "We're not just singing for us, we're singing for everyone who feels invisible. Let's be loud enough for them all to hear."
So powerful.
It is powerful.
It's about using your voice, your art, your platform to create space for those who have been, marginalized or silenced.
To amplify their stories.
Yeah, and remind them that they're not alone.
Exactly.
It highlights something really important here.
Yeah.
We've been talking a lot about challenges.
Yeah.
But it's also important to acknowledge the positive impact
Absolutely.
that these artists are having.
Yes, their music.
Their message.
Their very existence.
Yeah.
It's making a difference.
They're challenging norms.
Pushing boundaries.
Inspiring others.
Inspiring others.
To embrace their true selves.
They're showing the world it's okay to be different.
Yeah.
To be unique.
To be exactly who you are.
To be exactly who you are.
And that's powerful.
It is incredibly powerful.
It makes you wonder, what other stories are out there?
Yeah.
Waiting to be told.
Right. What other artists are breaking down barriers and creating change?
With their music.
It's the beauty of art.
Yeah.
It's a constantly evolving landscape.
It is.
And I think Jin and Yuki's story is a reminder to keep exploring.
Keep seeking out.
To keep seeking out diverse voices and perspectives.
Expanding our horizons.
For sure.
Opening ourselves up to the richness and the beauty
of human expression.
Yeah, of human expression in all its forms.
In all its forms.
But let's be honest, sometimes it feels like the music industry is all about profit.
It is a business. There's no doubt about it.
Not about social justice.
But that doesn't mean that artists can't also be agents of change.
Right. Think about all the musicians throughout history who have used their platforms to speak out against injustice, to promote peace, to inspire movements,
Yeah.
Music has the power to unite, to heal, to ignite change.
It's a universal language that can transcend boundaries.
Totally.
And connect people on a deep level.
On a deep emotional level.
An emotional level.
That's why it's so important to support artists who are using their voices to make a positive impact.
Like Jin and Yuki.
Exactly.
They're a prime example.
They've shown us that even amidst the challenges.
Yeah,
that music can be a force for good, a catalyst for social change.
And that's a powerful reminder for all of us.
It is.
But this conversation goes beyond music, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. We've been focused on music today.
Right.
But these same themes of intersectionality, inclusivity, and representation play out in all forms of art, from film and television to visual arts to literature to dance.
The list goes on and on.
The list goes on.
And that's what makes this discussion so fascinating.
I agree.
It opens up a whole world.
Where else can we find these stories?
Yes.
Of resilience and the fight for equality?
Where else can we discover voices that are challenging norms and pushing boundaries?
That's a great question, and one I hope our listeners will continue to ponder long after this episode ends.
I hope so too.
This deep dive has been eye-opening in so many ways.
It has.
It's made me think differently about the music I listen to, the artists I support, and the power of art to, spark conversations.
Yeah.
And inspire change.
And inspire change, me too.
It's a reminder that we all have a role to play in creating a more just and equitable world.
We do.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of intersex and transgender musicians, what are, the key takeaways?
We've covered a lot today.
Yeah, for sure. It's been a real journey.
It has. We started by exploring the idea of intersectionality.
Right.
And how it create these unique challenges for artists who are, navigating multiple layers of identity.
We dove into the economic realities these musicians face.
Yes.
Talking about access to resources and innovative ways artists are, using platforms like Patreon to build careers, sustainable careers.
And of course, we talked about the importance of LGBTQ+ inclusivity in the music industry, which is still a work in progress.
Still a work in progress.
Yeah, but for me, the most powerful part of this whole deep dive has been hearing Jin and Yuki's story.
Me too.
It highlights the importance of resilience.
Authenticity.
Using your voice.
To empower others.
And it reminds us that these conversations, they go way beyond the music industry, We see these same issues of intersectionality, inclusivity, representation.
Everywhere.
Playing out in all forms of art throughout society as a whole.
It's so true. Think about the books you read.
Yeah.
The movies you watch, the art you admire,
Yeah.
are those stories representing the full spectrum of human experience?
Are we seeing ourselves reflected in the art we consume? Are
Exactly.
we making space for voices that have been, historically marginalized?
Or silence? Those are big questions.
They are big questions, but I think they're questions we should all be asking ourselves. It's about being more mindful.
More curious.
Yeah, more curious.
More open to exploring art that, challenges our perspectives.
That expands our understanding of the world.
Yes, I love that. Embracing the
Richness.
yes, the richness and complexity of human experience. Recognizing that there's always more to learn.
More to discover.
Yeah.
More to appreciate.
So for our listeners out there who are feeling inspired, what can they do to make a difference? What are some tangible steps they can take to support intersex and transgender artists and contribute to a more, inclusive and equitable world?
Well, I think first and foremost, it's about being a conscious consumer.
What does that mean?
Pay attention to the music you're listening to,
Okay.
the artists you're supporting.
The stories you're amplifying.
Yes. Are you seeking out diverse voices?
Are you supporting artists who are using their platform, to promote positive change?
Those are great questions to ask yourself.
It's a great starting point.
It is.
We vote with our wallets and our attention.
We do.
Let's make sure we're supporting artists who align with our values.
Absolutely.
What else can we do?
We can support organizations that are doing the work,
Work, yeah.
Like GLA.
GLA,
Donating, volunteering, spreading the word. Every little bit helps.
Don't underestimate the power of simply having these conversations.
Yes.
With your friends, your family, online communities.
It all matters.
Raising awareness, sharing resources, and, just challenging those outdated beliefs can have a ripple effect.
It creates a culture of empathy.
Understanding
and acceptance.
It starts with each and every one of us.
It does.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with this final thought.
Okay, I'm ready.
Jin and Yuki's story shows us how art can be a force for social change.
For sure.
But the question remains, what other art forms have that same potential?
Interesting.
Where else can we find these stories of resilience and the fight for equality?
That is a fantastic question to ponder, and I encourage our listeners to, keep exploring.
Keep questioning.
Yes, keep questioning.
Keep using their voices.
To create a world where everyone feels seen, heard, and valued.
Beautifully said. Until next time, keep diving deep and keep those conversations going.